Quick video, I don't want to take up too much time, but Insomniac Games did confirm a feature that I was hoping was going to be implemented in Marvel Spider-Man 2. In addition, they talked about the more darker tone of this game and how they plan on balancing that. The map being twice the size as the original game, and if co-op was ever an option for this sequel. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy J Main, back checking in with the people, back with another video. And Insomniac Games has finally confirmed that you will be able to swap between Peter and Miles in the open world freely. This is something that I was praying and hoping was going to be implemented in this game. Back when I was doing prediction things on Twitter, whether it be on podcasts, just, knowing that you'll be able to play as Peter and Miles and wanting to be able to switch between them at any given moment. We saw in the gameplay trailer that they revealed last week that, yes, during the mission, you can swap between the two. Sometimes it's, on the fly as far as, what they want to be happening in the story. Or sometimes it's necessary because you have one Spider-Man on one end of the city and another Spider-Man on another end of the city, and you have to get there fast. So you got to swap between the two just to, progress in the mission. Now, they did a couple interviews, and I have some articles here that I want to go over and talk about all of these details that are new. And let's get into it. For starters, talking about how character switching works in Spider-Man 2. Now, I'm going to read the quotes that I highlighted here because I feel like these get to the nitty-gritty of everything, and it will break them down a little bit more. So when you're playing the main story, we control when you switch between Pete and Miles. It's done in service to the story when you're making those switches for sure. Spider-Man's 2 creative director Brian Intihar told Eurogamer in an exclusive interview. So as you saw on that gameplay reveal, which is a segment of the main story, we are predetermining those based on what we want to do for how the story plays out. When you're in Spider-Man 2's New York open world, however, it's different. We have content designed around Peter. We have content designed around Miles. We have content where you play either. You'll be able to, in the open world, freely switch between them with a simple button press thanks to the power of the PS5, which has actually been a topic of discussion as we've seen Ratchet & Clank is coming to PC, ripped apart the PS5 game, and there was a lot of conversation from these developers, Insomniac Games themselves, about this only being possible because of the power of the PlayStation 5, with, traversing through the rifts and the different dimensions and things like that. And now they're praising the PS5 again for something like that. So it's going to be interesting to see Ratchet & Clank on PC running on things like a hard drive. And if there is any loading times or if it is as seamless as it is on PlayStation 5 when it happens. And same is going to be the case here. GTA 5 had this option to switch between the three characters, but it had some loading times in between those swaps when you played it on PS3. What they're talking about is doing it so fast with the power of the PlayStation 5 that it is no loading times. It just happens instantly. And we saw a preview of that on the gameplay demo for PS5. So hopefully that's going to be the case when the game comes out because, they're hyping it up as if, it's only possible in the PS5. So I want to see it do things that, would have been different on other platforms. Additionally, this character switching will all tie into Spider-Man 2's 3 skill trees, one for Peter, one for Miles, and one that is shared. So another thing that they mentioned is that there are going to be activities and missions that are designed for specific characters. So you'll have to play as Miles for this side mission or activity. You'll have to play as Peter for the side mission or activity. And then there'll be things that you can just do as either character. In addition to the skill trees, one for Miles, one for Peter, one that's shared. So with Peter having the symbiote suit, I'm sure his skill tree will be more built around that. And with Miles having, his venom powers and with the electricity, we saw it's not just yellow electricity, it has blue electricity powers now. His skill tree will probably be built around that. And the one that is shared will probably be things like gadgets. If you remember in the gameplay trailer, he did the web line at any given moment along 2 different surfaces to kind of create his own stealth path to get towards the enemies to take them out. So something like that will probably be shared. Something like the wingsuit, we saw both of them utilizing it. Something like that will probably be shared as well. They also talked about this game having like a darker tone and balancing that because not everybody is going to want to play as dark symbiote Peter the whole time. Like, while that's going to be cool, we still want to see, the lighthearted Peter. Whether it's Craven, which we confirmed in the beginning of the sequence, and obviously we showed Venom when we announced the game, and now with the symbiote and Pete being bonded with the symbiote, dang, there's a lot of symbiote there. There's naturally going to be some darker elements to the story. That's just being respectful to those characters and what they bring to the overall experience. But this doesn't mean we will have to spend the entire game with a moody, bristling Peter Parker. Despite seeing a darker side to Peter in the gameplay trailer, something that can be attributed to his new symbiote suit, Insomniac says we should still expect to see plenty of charm its studio is known for, as well as the human stories of the people behind their superhero masks. It's definitely going to be a tough task for them to get that balance right, as well as when Peter's in the symbiote, when it's attached to the symbiote, are we going to be able to control him freely in the open world? Being that he is, going to be more moody and more short. And you see in the trailer, he saving civilians, but he's also like throwing them to the floor. Like, that's going to be interesting to see how much of that we get to experience in the open world, or when he's doing those side activities and side missions as symbiote Peter. Like, will that affect the experience that we're having in those other missions? So I'm definitely interested to see how that's going to play out. They also talked about the map being twice the size. The 2018 game was lauded for a surprisingly accurate depiction of Manhattan, with many portions of the city constructed to scale. While Manhattan Returns, the sequel was adding Queens, Brooklyn, and other boroughs. In terms of size of the city, it's doubled the size compared to Spider-Man 1. Adding when you play in Queens, there's much more of a neighborhood feel, smaller buildings, which is why the web wing works so well traversing in that area. That's actually a good point, because with this game, Peter actually swings and his webs attached to buildings. So it'll be interesting when you're traversing in a place like Queens or Brooklyn that doesn't have as many skyscrapers as Manhattan for him to attach his webs to. You're going to have to utilize more of the web wings to get around the world. I didn't even think about that, but that's definitely interesting to see, and that they kept that in mind. So he says, which is why the web wing works so well, traversing in that area where you swing low to the ground if you want to, or you can fly through. Now we get on to co-op. Co-op, to me, I was hoping that it wasn't the case here, because when you build a story around co-op, to me, it never really feels like an intuitive. It never feels intuitive. It never feels like constructive. It never feels like concise when you have a co-op storytelling, versus when it's a single player storytelling where you can really get into focusing on, this is one player that is going to be playing through this. You don't have to worry about this player experiencing stuff for this character, this player experiencing something for that character while they're playing through the game. It's going to be one person playing through this. So you can pack everything that you need to within these missions, within this storytelling, within this world, because you know that it's only focused on one person seeing this stuff. And so for Insomniac Games, they're saying co-op was never an option. 2 Spider-Men for 2 players seems like a logical conclusion for a video game, but that was never on the table for the sequels. PlayStation's first-party studios have won accolades for their single-player experiences, and Spider-Man 2 wasn't going to buck that trend. From day one, we always said we wanted to make a single-player experience. There are a lot of great co-op games out there, but we wanted to tell the experience of 2 Spider heroes. You have to make some big decisions, whether it's design decisions, tech decisions, for something like co-op. Exactly what I was saying. You got to build the game around it being co-op and around 2 people playing the game. And so it changes up the whole dynamic. And they did it so great in Spider-Man 1, it being a single player game, that I trust that they'll be able to have a good balance of the storytelling, the world design, the mission design, with 2 different Spider-Man at once for 1 player. Definitely a lot of cool, interesting news that we got about the game. The biggest one for me is just being able to freely swap between the 2 characters. I hope, like GTA 5, when you swap between the 2 characters, like you randomly come up on them in the middle of something. Like I know in GTA 5, like you'll be Franklin, you switch to Trevor, and he walking down the block in a goddamn tutu looking like a ballerina at any given moment, you know what I'm saying? So I hope it's stuff like that you'll see, and not just like when you swap from Miles to Peter kind of just drops in and Miles swings off all at the, in one motion, you know what I'm saying? I hope it's not like that. Let me know down in the comment section what y'all think about all these new details for Spider-Man 2. Of course, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I will have new, updates on Spider-Man 2 gameplay things as these stuff come out, reactions to new gameplay trailers. I'm super excited for this game. I also plan to do a playthrough of the original game on New Game Plus Ultimate difficulty before this game comes out. So I'm going to try and line it up perfect so that my playthrough ends when the new game is about to come out. Still fall 2023, so no release date yet, but hopefully we get that soon. Rate the video, of course, and I'll check you out in my next video. Peace.